Hello, and welcome to the online symposium Here It Is. On behalf of Museum Folkwang, we would like to welcome you in the exhibition Grow It, Show It.
We will spare you the hairy jokes this afternoon, evening, or morning, depending on which time zone you're in. By now, you've probably already taken several steps to take care of your hair, whether it is a quick brush, a wash, or a styling routine. I personally keep things simple with a short haircut that minimizes my styling. But we all know the topic of hair is much more complex than that, isn't it? It is a deeply personal aspect of our identity, our culture, and thus tied to political, religious, or social dimensions. So hair it is that we will dive in today.
One aspect that I think reflects the importance of hair in our Western society is the wearing of a wig. Today, wigs are no longer really worn outside of the theater and costume world, except by some strictly religious groups or sometimes for medical reasons. But until around 200 years ago, wigs were indispensable in Europe, at least among the aristocracy and higher social classes. They represented wealth and good taste, the fashionable latest thing, and completed every look. Just think of Marie Antoinette's huge wigs, adorned with all kinds of jewelry and accessories. These wigs were not only heavy, but also extremely impractical, another way of making life for women difficult, by making it complicated for them to move freely. For men, wigs were more likely to cover up hair loss. Diseases and the use of toxic mercury thinned people's hair. But wigs, as great as they looked, had one major disadvantage. In summer, they were very hot, and the scalp itched terribly. However, the fact that wigs lasted for so long shows how important it was for people to have beautiful hair.
I'm standing here in Grow It, Show It, a look at hair from Diane Arbus to TikTok with Mathilde Heidmann-Taillefer, research curator at Museum Folkwang.
And Clara Bolin is here at the Museum Folkwang, curatorial fellow in the program Museum Curators for Photography from the Foundation Alfred Krupp von Bohlen und Halber.
We are delighted to be your hosts for tonight. We are right now standing in the Hairina, between a stage designed by Anna Ablegen and an installation from the magazine Balam, between the hair salon and the vanity table. It is the exhibition's meeting area, with designed photo cubes by the duo Chaumont Zaipur and a video work by RuPaul. From here on out, like a kaleidoscope, we want to touch upon the broad topics of the exhibition and in hair in photography and media art. We will guide you through the exhibition, offering glimpses into the display, the artistic positions, and media formats, helping to provide a clearer understanding of the exhibition's overall structure and flow.
We will do that with 16 short presentations by artists from the exhibitions and the authors from the catalog. That you will show here and is available via the museum bookshop or the editing house Distanz. The program is tightly scheduled. For more information, please visit our website. All online talks will be recorded and later published on YouTube. We kindly ask you to mute your microphones and to turn off your cameras during the sessions to minimize distractions.
And now let's jump right into medias res. We welcome our first speaker, Monilola Olayemi Ilupeju, artist and author, currently based in Berlin, but joining us from New York City today. Monilola has enriched the catalog with a personal contribution on her lock journey. So please, Monilola, the screen is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Greetings from New York. I wrote this essay on my lock journey in the beginning of the year, and it's not only a personal account of my lock journey, but also a historical overview of locks throughout history in different regions, and it's also a bit of an instruction manual. So without further ado, I'm going to read a bit of it, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it. And just cut me off when my time is up. Thank you. I locked my hair on the last day of 2023. It wasn't planned. Just before, I had spent 2 days pre-shampooing, shampooing, conditioning, deep conditioning, detangling, moisturizing, oiling, blow drying, and parting my hair. This was all done in preparation for Marley twists, a style I routinely did on myself every 2 to 3 months that involved twisting pieces of synthetic kinky hair into my own. As laborious as this saga of a task was, I had long ago accepted that I was too cheap and too particular to spend the 200 euros to go to a skillful, though rough-handed hair braider who would probably give me something I hadn't quite asked for and who would have to be repeatedly reminded to give a damn about my edges. I'd also come to enjoy the prolonged ritual of tending to my hair, and by extension myself, for so long. I smuggled these marathons into my definition of self-care, which helped to alleviate any guilt I might have felt for spending so much time on my appearance. The technique of weaving synthetic hair into natural hair is difficult to learn at first. When I first started doing this style a few years ago, I just know the back of my head looked crazy. But after some practice, the fingers gain a special muscle memory. Doing the parting system on yourself is perhaps the hardest part, especially the back of the head. Mirror placement is crucial. After hours of dragging the end of a rat tail comb through your hair to achieve the cleanest brick pattern parts possible, you take a small section of your hair and split that into 2 even parts. Then you take a long piece of synthetic hair from the pack and fold it in half, which will be the desired length of the style unless you cut it shorter. After this, you pinch the middle of the synthetic hair piece and hold it against the part of your scalp where the two sections of your natural hair separate. Then, with one hand, you twist one half of the synthetic hair into the half section of natural hair, and you do the same with the other hand. Both hands must be turning in the same direction. Now, here's the hard part. As you twist the two sections of synthetic hair into the natural hair with both hands, you combine these two sections tightly, creating a secure rope twist. Keep twisting as you turn, making sure to tuck as much natural hair into the synthetic fibers as possible for a seamless blend. Twist until you reach the bottom. When you finish the entire head, you have the option to leave it as is or secure at the ends with fire or boiling water. Both elements can prove to be quite dangerous. On multiple occasions, typically when I had done a shorter length, I accidentally burned my neck while sticking my head into a pot on the stove. When sealing the ends with fire, my finger pads would become raw from the repetitive flicking of the lighter, and the chemical smell of the burning synthetic fibers would cling to the inside of my nostrils like a wetsuit. But I was calmed by the intelligence my hands carried and their dexterity in navigating the labyrinth of my hair, and by knowing that even if it took me days, well into the night and sometimes the morning, I would get it done. But this last time was different. In the final quarter of the year, I was brought to my knees by a series of destabilizing events. I lost my job, which I had had since the first COVID lockdown. It was jarring at first, but ultimately a blessing in disguise. Then my boyfriend and I inexplicably and unceremoniously broke up over text. Another blessing, but the sting of betrayal took a long time to metabolize. Then my big brother passed away at the age of 32. I see no silver lining in this. Life is absurd and death even more so. Soon after, a close friend and I had a falling out, which unleashed pent-up resentment, confusion, and hurt feelings. Eventually, we got through it, and a new intimacy emerged between us as a result. And lastly, grief was/is omnipresent, ever escalating and multiplying its spores across the globe, from Congo to Sudan to Palestine. The winter was a devastating and densely knotted couple of months, its heaviness dragging well into the new year. Now writing this just shy of summer, most of my interpersonal matters have resolved themselves, but I am still grieving the ongoing loss brought about by imperialism and the barbarism it insensately inflicts on the most vulnerable corners of the world. And I'm still grieving my brother. still having to find a way to make life around the crater left behind by his absence and all its irreversible incertitudes. Time is often seen as an apathetic master, able to bring the fiercest warriors to their knees and turn empires to dust. But after all that has occurred, I see it as a dutiful laborer. It does its faithful work, no matter what. This is confirmed when I look back to the end of last year, when these personal woes were still fresh, when I was in a very different place mentally, something like an underwater cage in the boiling caldera of a volcano. Dripping with fire, I started the lengthy process of installing my Marley twists. I was able to get through the first stages of pre-shampooing, shampooing, conditioning, deep conditioning, moisturizing, detangling, blow drying, and even the parting. But when it came time to start twisting the synthetic hair into my own, something inside me simply gave up, or maybe refused. It wasn't that my hands were without strength. The muscle memory they had acquired simply disobeyed. Some kind of strategic incompetence, perhaps instigated by a protective and cunning future self. Every time I tried to start the twist, the base wouldn't tighten enough and the hair would slip out. After 2.5 days of working on my hair, I became rattled, hysterical. I felt alone. I wish that I'd stayed in Maryland with my family after the funeral services. Instead, I returned to Berlin to fulfill commitments I had made back when commitments were capable of being fulfilled. I longed to lie on the couch where I slept at the foot of my mother's bed, she and I holding each other without arms as our eyes slowly adjusted to this new hue of life. I longed to open the fridge and see Tupperware after Tupperware of jollof rice and efforiro made by family and friends who supported us in this terrible moment. The generosity and tenderness of my kin fortified my Nigerian pride. I longed to sit across from my dad in his office as he sifted through mountains of medical charts in a tense yet loving silence. But in reality, I was in my studio apartment in Nikon, the floor covered in knots of plastic hair, trying to keep the seams of my career together as everything from life to hair unraveled irrepressibly. I don't know how much time I have left, but I thought maybe I can pause there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Monilola, for taking us with you on your journey and giving us insights into your journey to locks. I think that for me, what really stood out or stands out is the commitment behind every step, whether it's weaving, detangling, or parting that you describe, from pre-shampooing to conditioning to the muscle memory involved in styling. Hair care goes beyond mere technique. It's about strength and intention, patience and precision, and ultimately it reflects our and influences our mood and our state of mind.